They tell you power can be shared. They tell you collaboration means equal footing. They tell you everyone gets a voice, everyone gets a seat at the table, everyone matters the same. It sounds beautiful, it sounds fair, it sounds like the world we should all want. But Machiavelli would call it exactly what it is, a lie designed to keep you weak. Because here is the truth no one wants to say out loud. Power is never shared. It is only distributed temporarily to create the illusion of fairness while someone else holds the real control. And the moment you believe in equality of power, you have already lost the game. Because you stopped watching who actually makes the decisions. You stopped noticing who everyone looks to when things go wrong. You stopped seeing the hierarchy that exists underneath every smile and handshake. Machiavelli understood something most people will never accept. Humans are not wired for equality. We are wired for hierarchy. We are wired to follow, to compete, to submit, to dominate. That is not cynicism. That is biology, history, and observable reality in every relationship, every organization, every society that has ever existed. There is always someone at the top, and pretending otherwise does not make you enlightened. It makes you blind.
Let me be clear. Equality as a moral ideal is fine. Equality under the law, dignity, respect, those concepts have value. But equality of power? That is a fantasy. And it is a dangerous one, because it makes you think you are safe when you are not. It makes you think you have influence when you do not. It makes you relax in environments where you should be strategizing. Think about any group you have ever been part of. A friend group, a work team, a relationship, a business partnership. At the start, everyone talks about being equals. Everyone agrees to share responsibility, share credit, share the load. It feels good. It feels progressive. But then time passes, and something shifts. One person starts speaking more. One person starts making the calls. One person becomes the default leader. And no one voted for it. No one announced it. It just happened. Because power does not care about your agreements. Power flows to whoever can hold it. And once it flows, it rarely flows back. Machiavelli would tell you this. In any group of two or more, there is always a hierarchy, even if unstated, even if denied. The moment two people interact, one will have more influence than the other. One will set the tone. One will have the final say. That is not oppression. That is nature. And the person who pretends it is not happening is the person who ends up at the bottom. Here is where it gets brutal. The people who talk the most about equality are often the ones quietly consolidating power. They use the language of fairness to disarm you. They say, "We are all equal here," while making sure their voice is the loudest. They say, "Let's all decide together," while structuring every decision to go their way. They smile and nod at your input, then do exactly what they planned from the start. And you feel good because you were included, you were heard, you were respected, but you were not empowered. You were managed. That is the Machiavellian insight. Equality is not a system. It is a tool used by those in power to keep others from realizing they have none. Because as long as you believe you are equal, you will not fight for actual power. You will not position yourself. You will not make moves. You will sit in meetings, share your ideas, wait your turn, and wonder why nothing ever changes. Meanwhile, the person who knows the truth is 3 steps ahead, shaping outcomes while you are still debating process. Let me give you an example. You walk into a startup. Everyone is a co-founder. Everyone has equal equity. Everyone has equal say. It sounds ideal. But watch what happens over 6 months. One person starts being the face of the company. One person controls the money. One person has the final call on product direction. And slowly, quietly, the others become employees in everything but title. They still have their equity, they still get called co-founder, but the power, that moved. And it moved because someone understood what Machiavelli knew. Power abhors a vacuum, and if you do not take it, someone else will.
In romantic relationships, the same pattern emerges. People talk about equal partnerships. Both people have equal say. Both people compromise. Both people matter the same. And yet, in every relationship, one person holds more emotional power. One person is more willing to walk away. One person cares less. And that person, whether they realize it or not, controls the relationship. Because power in relationships is not about who loves more. It is about who needs less. Machiavelli would see this instantly. The one who can leave without collapsing is the one who sets the terms. Friendships, too. You think you and your friends are equals. You think everyone has the same weight in the group. But there is always a center. Always someone whose opinion matters more, whose approval is sought, whose absence is felt most. And the others? They orbit. They adapt. They measure themselves against that center. It is not malicious. It is just structure. And structure always has levels. Now here is the trap. Most people sense this. They feel the imbalance. They notice they are not really equal. But instead of accepting it and making a move, they do something worse. They complain. They say it is not fair. They say everyone should have equal input. They call for more democracy, more inclusion, more balance. And while they're talking, the person at the top just tightens their grip. Because complaining about power does not take it. It just announces you do not have it.
Machiavelli would tell you to stop asking for equality and start taking position. Stop waiting for fairness and start playing the game. Because power respects moves, not morals. It does not matter if you deserve a seat at the table. It matters if you can take one and hold it. And the moment you understand that, you stop being a victim of hierarchy and start becoming its architect. Let me be even more direct. Every time someone tells you we are all equal here, they are doing one of two things. They either believe it, which means they are naive and will soon lose power, or they do not believe it, which means they are using it to control you. Either way, you should not believe it. You should smile, nod, and watch what actually happens. Watch who speaks last. Watch whose ideas get implemented. Watch who controls the resources. That is where the power is. Not in the words, in the moves. Here is another layer. Power is not just about making decisions. It is about shaping what decisions are even possible. The person with real power is not the one voting. It is the one setting the agenda, the one deciding what gets discussed, the one framing the options. Because if you control the question, you control the answer. And that is how equality becomes a performance. Everyone gets to vote, but the real choice was made before the vote ever happened.
Machiavelli saw this in every political system. Republics, democracies, councils, they all pretend to distribute power. But in reality, a small group always runs things. They set the narrative. They control information. They decide who gets resources. The masses get to participate, sure. They get to feel involved. But the outcomes? Those are guided by the few who understand how the game actually works. In modern corporations, this is everywhere. Flat hierarchies, open-door policies. Everyone has a voice. But walk into any company and you will see the real structure in 5 minutes. Some people have access. Some people get FaceTime with leadership. Some people are in the room when real decisions are made. And some people, no matter how talented, are forever outside. Not because they are less capable, but because they believed the equality narrative and stopped positioning themselves. The Machiavellian operator knows this, so instead of demanding equality, they position themselves as indispensable. They make themselves the person others need. They control key relationships. They hold critical knowledge. They become the bottleneck. And once you are the bottleneck, you are no longer equal. You are essential. And essential is another word for powerful.
Think about this. In any negotiation, any deal, any partnership, the person with options has power. The person without options has hope. And hope is not a strategy, it is a prayer. So the question is never, are we equal? The question is, who has more options? Who can walk away? Who needs this less? Answer that, and you know who holds the cards. Machiavelli would never enter a negotiation assuming equality. He would enter knowing exactly where he stands and exactly what leverage he has. And if he does not have leverage, he does not pretend. He builds it or he walks. Now let me tell you what happens when you stop believing in the equality lie. You stop wasting energy on resentment. You stop wondering why you are not being heard. You stop expecting fairness. Instead, you start studying power. You start watching moves. You start asking better questions. Not why do they have more power than me, but how did they get it, and how do I get mine? That shift in mindset changes everything. Because now, you are not a victim. You're a strategist. Here is the elite move. Instead of fighting against hierarchy, use it. Understand that people want to follow. They want structure. They want someone to lead. So instead of resisting that, become the one they follow. Not through force, not through title, through presence, through certainty, through being the person who makes things happen while others are still debating what should happen. Machiavelli knew the masses do not want equality. They want direction. And whoever provides that direction gains power, whether it is official or not.
But here is the warning. Once you have power, never pretend you do not. Never play the equality game when you are at the top, because the moment you do, someone else will take your position. They will say we are all equal here, while quietly positioning themselves as more equal. And you will wake up one day wondering how you lost control. Machiavelli would say, if you have power, hold it visibly. Make it clear, not through arrogance, through action, through decision, through being the one who moves while others wait. There is a reason every empire, every movement, every organization eventually centralizes power. Because diffused power is unstable. It creates confusion. It slows decisions. It leads to infighting. And nature hates instability. So power consolidates. Always. The only question is whether it consolidates around you or around someone else. And that depends entirely on whether you understand the game or whether you are still pretending the game does not exist. Let me destroy one more illusion. People say power corrupts. They say too much power in one place is dangerous, and maybe that is true. But you know what is more dangerous? Pretending power does not exist. Because then it operates in shadow. Then it moves without accountability. Then you get controlled without ever knowing who is controlling you. At least when power is visible, you can navigate it. You can position against it. You can challenge it if you must. But invisible power, the kind hidden behind equality rhetoric, that is the most insidious kind, because you cannot fight what you cannot see.
Machiavelli would tell you this: the world is not fair. It was never meant to be. And the moment you accept that, you stop waiting for fairness and start creating your own position. You stop hoping someone will give you power and start taking the space you need. You stop believing in equality and start building leverage. And leverage is the only currency that matters. Here is your final test. Look at your life right now. Your job, your relationships, your social circles. Ask yourself honestly, where do you actually stand? Not where you want to stand, not where people say you stand, where you actually stand. Do you have real decision-making power or just the appearance of input? Are you indispensable or replaceable? Can you walk away without losing everything, or are you trapped? Answer those questions truthfully, and you will see exactly how much power you actually have. And if the answer is not what you want, good. Now you know. Now you can stop pretending and start moving. Because Machiavelli did not write for the powerful. He wrote for those who wanted to become powerful. And the first step is always the same. Stop believing the comfortable lies. Stop believing in equality of power. Start seeing the world as it is. And then, only then, start playing the game to win. Power is never shared. It is only ever held by those who understand it is never shared. Everyone else is just a voice in a room they think matters while decisions are made elsewhere. The question is simple. Which one are you? And more importantly, which one will you become?